Evening YouTubers. So, not a distro review today or any real FreeBSD stuff, but I do have something interesting for you. Now, most of you use regular terminals such as XFC for terminal, okay? And when you use ncurses applications, and they require term cap, which we'll get back into in a moment, but basically those sorts of applications usually behave fine on a regular terminal. So if we go, cmus is going to be my target for this one. So if we go cmus like this, okay, so I had a little bit of an error there at the start, but no big deal for the purposes of what I'm trying to show you. It works fine, perfectly fine. There's nothing to see here. By the way, don't laugh. Not all of this music is mine. In fact, the more sensible stuff is mine, and you can take a guess whose is the other. Anyway, moving on. So that works fine. Okay, so what if I'm using a less common terminal, such as ST? Now, ST is a very, very capable terminal. Let's get out of XFCE4 terminal and take a look at what happens with cmus in ST. ST is a great terminal. I recommend you try it. It's a really cut down terminal. It only does what's on the box and nothing more. That's it. So if I go cmus, oh, we've got a problem here. You see, if I go through here, look at this, all this corruption. And if I go over here, same story. It kind of fixes itself up there, but it's not really much fun. So what's going on here? Well, you need to have an understanding about terminal capabilities or term cap. Basically, ncurses, now, if I get the technical details wrong, please correct me in the comments below, but ncurses uses terminal capabilities to work out what a particular terminal is going to be able to do and what it cannot do, right? And the way a terminal identifies itself is interesting. I'm not going to tell you straight away. So anyway, getting to the point, I did try another way. I was like, okay, so I'm used to using tmux. Let's try cmus and tmux. So let's go tmux. Okay, and go cmus. Interesting. It's working perfectly fine. So why would that be a problem? If you want to pause the video and give this a bit of a think about or whatever, feel free to do so. But I'm about to tell you the answer. Okay, so what it turns out is if I go echo $term, which is the terminal identifying environmental variable, you can see it's pretending to be screen at this point in time, which is GNU screen. Okay, it's doing that for some compatibility reasons, I'm sure. So if I get out of this, right, and go back to normal ST, and I go echo $term, I'm getting ST256 color. Well, that's kind of interesting. What was I getting with XFCE4? Terminal. Echo $term. That's kind of interesting. So with this terminal, it behaves fine. With this one, it doesn't. And with tmux's terminal being screen, it behaves fine. So it seems that ncurses is aware of the capabilities of this type of terminal and the type of terminal that would be in a screen session or tmux, but is not aware of ST. And that's not entirely surprising. ST is not exactly the most common most common terminal used out there. So what to do about this? Well, I'm about to show you. I happen to be using Z shell. So the solutions will be similar if you're using bash or using one of the other born compatible shells, I should say. And what you need to do is you need to go and make a slight modification. Now you can do a hard modification. We're going to do a kind of soft considered modification. So let's do that now. So if I go into my Vim and have a look at my RC, you're going to see here I've made a bit of some commenting out because these are my own little options that I didn't want to show you straight up. But you can see here, basically I'm going to tell you what this means. So if the terminal environmental variable is set to ST256 color, then I'm going to change it to xterm. Okay, and the reason why that is a good value is that actually if you go to a normal TTY and FreeBSD, and I mean a regular TTY, it pretends that it's actually xterm. Not sure why, but xterm is a pretty well supported terminal out there, so it's not entirely surprising. And in fact, if I go over here and go, let's try that, xterm, and goes, and we'll see that that behaves perfectly fine. Let's quit out of that and go echo $term as well. and you can see it's X term. So, but suffice to say, on a regular TTY, and I mean a real TTY, not a pseudo TTY or terminal emulator, blah, 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 it's going to have the X term one. So that's why I've used this here. So let's see what happens when I do that. So let's get out of here. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to start a new terminal. Okay. And I could have done that a little slightly differently, but who cares? In fact, what I'm going to do is just be very careful about that and actually just go Control Enter like that, because I actually do have some different settings depending on how I invoke ST through D menu or versus the shortcut which I use, which is Windows Enter. But anyway, moving on. So now let's have a look. Echo $term. So you can see that our environmental variable here is actually working. It's there. And now let's see what cmus does. And it's working perfectly fine. So yeah, absolutely fine. So the point of it is, guys, is that basically, you know, my understanding of this is that how it works is, you know, you've got to consider the terminal capabilities, okay? And terminal capabilities will dictate how ncurses behaves, or in this case, curses behaves. I don't think, in fact, if we go ld /user/bin/ local bin grep curse, oh, ldd, maybe it's ldd, sorry. And we can see it's actually connecting to an ncurses instance. So, and if I go package, I'm not going to go into that. Look, to be honest, basically any curses compatible library there, it's going to depend on term cap, I believe, and terminal capabilities dictate how ncurses will output. It needs to do a whole bunch of abstract magic behind the scenes. I shouldn't really call it magic, but basically abstraction of using the terminal control characters. End result is, if it doesn't get it quite right, you're going to end up with what seems to be a corrupted output. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it right here. You know, if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button. If you want to receive more of this content, press the subscribe button. And the other thing to do is you've got to bang the bell if you're going to get those notifications. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it right here. If you want to put some comments down below, feel free. Anyway, good night, guys. Bye-bye.